are running with the Devils. Oh, we are back. Feels good to keep the cup in Tempe, which we have done 5 years in a row. One for the thumb. The Devils take care of business this past Saturday in Tempe. You were running with the Devils. I'm the RyKno, Ryan Knowles. Here with me, as always, my co-host, Big Bald Man, Big John Caldwell.
BBG.
And a special guest with us this week. We've had her on the program before, but it's been a little while. The lovely and talented Miss Brittany Bowyer. Brittany, good to see you.
What up? What up? How you guys doing today?
Yes. Got a lot to get into. Of course, we're going to recap the big win over U of A this past weekend. Such a nice opportunity. Such great feeling when you can beat up on your rivals from that one city down south. Fifth straight Territorial Cup victory. We'll also recap the 2021 season. Certainly not, I think, what we all expected, but anytime you can beat your rivals and win 8 games and go bowling, it's not a bad season by any stretch. But we'll get into that, and we'll look ahead to 2022 as things are starting to take shape here now that games are finally done. We'll get an idea. We're starting to get an idea of what the Arizona State Sun Devils will look like as far as some of their tent poles when it comes to the coaches and the players. We'll break it all down for you, but we got to start with this past Saturday. Of course, the Devils win the duel in the desert, 38-15 over the hated rival Mild Rats. And Brittany, I'll start with you. Some of your big takeaways from this game this past Saturday.
Okay, well, I think that the Arizona State defense did a great job in terms of forcing Arizona's offense to pass the ball. They have not had a strong passing game this year, and it really ended up being what was their downfall in the end of it because of the turnovers, most specifically that pick six by Jack Jones at the end of the game that really sealed the deal for them. So, I think that by respecting the Arizona State run defense, they were forced to pass the ball. And I think that was a huge thing that I noticed was, they respected that.
Yeah, that was really great to see. Especially after the way that ASU struggled against Oregon State to stop the run, that they come out, only gave up 50 rushing yards against the Cats. And Big John, I'll come to you next. We both predicted this game relatively close. We both had ASU winning, and they did cover winning by 20-23. They were favored by about 20.5. So it was great to see ASU kind of come out, set the tone. It was early, it was close initially. U of A had some success driving the ball down the field, but Devils ultimately able to pull away in the second half. That was great to see.
Well, my big point last week was, if they get in the red zone, only allow threes, and that's exactly what they did. They let them score once on a touchdown, but I thought that would have to be up on the board. Stop Berry Hill one, shut down the run, and three. Don't allow anything in the red zone other than field goals. So I think it kind of played out the way we were both seeing it, and I emphasize it as one of my keys to the
not being able to run the ball, I think, was big to
right.
Holding them to field goals, because once the field kind of got shorter, it was tougher for U of A to move the ball.
We definitely stiffened every time they were in the red zone. I was really happy with the way the defense did that.
Yeah, so that was really great to see. And then just some of the details coming out of this game: 5th straight victory over the Cats. Freudian slip there. Longest winning streak in this, for the Devils anyway, since 1973, when they won 9 in a row. Have not lost to U of A since 2011. And
I was at that game. It was so sad.
Yeah, you take out.
All night.
Really, when you look at the recent history of this rivalry, I was too. And when you look at the recent history of this rivalry, if you take out 2011 and 2016, when the team basically quit on their coach in each year, really, it's you got U of A's one win in 2014 when they actually had a decent squad that year. So I would say it's been an ASU dominated rivalry, in the last decade plus. It feels like.
You know what I don't like is how the media, especially East, who don't know this game or rivalry real well, they always want to include sort of the post pre 19 World War II record in all this, because you start looking after World War II, it changes
Oh,
pretty
yes,
dramatically in
definitely.
to our favor.
Yeah, and I had a U of
Well,
A fan. I had a U of A fan on my Facebook page this week, just coming back at me with everything. As far as like them leading the rivalry, having the edge in the overall record, and I'm like, dude, they've been playing
well,
this game for so long that of course they've been a university longer and all this other stuff. It's not a fair. It's not an easy story to write about.
you guys, you cannot forget though, ASU has been coming up on them in that total record for
That's right.
quite
Yes.
some time now.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
want to say they're only 5 games behind. And
Oh,
at this
four
rate,
after Saturday.
Yeah.
It was
okay,
49,
4 games
44 with
behind.
U of A. Now it's 49, 45 and one.
So now you are officially 5 games from taking the actual lead.
Yes.
That is very within reach. Within all of our lifetime, we will
Oh,
have the
totally.
opportunity
Yes.
to counter back to all of those people who do bring up that overall record and be like, okay, but what now? Because now we own the overall record and we've owned you recently. So boom.
Yes.
Anyways,
And
don't forget.
it was U of A's coach Jed Fish who said this game was personal. And hey, you don't think ASU cares? You don't think that they want to take this seriously? And you make it personal when you have bulletin board material like that. You come out before the game has even started and you disrespect the field. You get into it with the ground staff. I mean,
week
Yeah.
is that? That's about it.
yeah, that what
week
kind
of-
of
That's
performance is
just
that?
bush
And
league.
then you get you get one of your freshman players gets ejected from the game off of one flagrant personal foul. So it wasn't a good look for U of A all the way around after that.
The tone has been set. That Jed Fish was not interested in changing the dynamic, and the fact that he let this go on, didn't stop it. To me, just says you're going to have a long haul down there, buddy, with playing us. Because we don't forget.
No. And then that certainly showed in the penalty yards. There were over 200 combined penalty yards in this game, and that's kind of to be expected when you talk about rivalry games. I mean, you look at some of these old Miami Florida State games, the Notre Dame USC games. They didn't like each other very much. You tend to get into it a little bit after the whistle. So
well, kudos to Herm for basically being consistent since he got here. There's a distinction between playing with passion and emotion, right?
Yes.
He clearly has got that into his kids. We weren't doing the stupid stuff they were. So yeah, kudos to coach for understanding. Now he's admitted, I'm understanding this rivalry more, appreciating it more and more every year. So
well, yeah, but the best thing you can do is go out there and beat them on the field, beat them on the scoreboard. So I think Herm definitely understands that.
Yeah.
So as we always do after a win here on Running with the Devils, our Valley Athletic Booster, our players of the game presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. To support local athletics, check out valleyathleticboosterclub.com. And for me, I think it's pretty obvious in a game like this where, you got your stars, you got your guys who come to play. And, even though he hasn't always had the most consistent performances, and part of that is not his fault, but wide receiver Ricky Pearson definitely showed up in this game, especially in the red zone. 5 catches, 52 yards, and 2 touchdowns for this game. Really great to see him kind of become the go-to receiver, regardless of how the passing game has struggled throughout the course of the season.
Remember, I said he had the biggest catch range of any of our guys, and when
which is interesting because he's not a very big guy.
But he's got a 41-inch vertical, so his catch zone is big relative to his height. But what
he made a great play on the ball on that fade, and then before that, having that nose for the end zone out on the edge, a couple very nice plays to get the team 6 points there. Very, very nice to see him play as well as he has this year. don't expect nothing but the best from him.
Especially, a local kid who is not highly recruited.
Yeah.
I just think his development has been exceptional since he's got
went to high school just up the way at Corona del Sol. So
right.
Yeah, good for him. And then playing in his final game as a senior, cornerback Jack Jones with a monster game, 6 tackles, tackle for loss, a sack that resulted in a fumble that ASU recovered on the 1-yard line, led to a Rashad White touchdown. And then, of course, that interception, that pick 6 late in the game to basically seal it. Just a tremendous game from this kid, and I'm looking for big things from him at the next level.
And Britt, you were saying in the pre-show that was actually his first pick 6 of his college career. It's kind of hard to believe.
It was. So he's had some interceptions, but he's never been able to take it to the house. So he said when he was at USC, he used to dream of what would happen when he got his first pick 6, how he would like celebrate after. And he wanted to chuck the ball into the student section. And he said when he was at USC, he never had that opportunity. And so the opportunity presented itself. It happened to be senior night, and he just launched that sucker up into the stands, unknowingly that it was going to be a $7,000 fine. But Herm said that he would gladly pay it, and that he earned that opportunity.
Then he did his Devin Booker impression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I thought he was going to do.
That was really great to see.
Snow Angels is what.
Yes. And then I think we also need to give him an assist on that one against Stanford where he pitched the ball to DeAndre Pierce.
True. That was a real heads up play.
Yeah. So, John, your players of the game.
Well, I can't. I thought Chase really went out in style with 7 solos. He was everywhere. I mean, he was so close so many times to jumping routes. But the fact is, he had a really clean game. And considering that where he was just 3 weeks ago with broken ribs, I'm really proud of the kid for hanging in there and really. To me, Chase proved he's the ultimate Sun Devil, guys. He might not ever get his name on the ring or any of that kind of stuff, but he is an ultimate Sun Devil. He balled out. He never stopped. And he loves this university. He absolutely loves the fans in the university.
He does. He's somebody I hope stays involved with the program long after his playing days are done. I hope that, when he's in the NFL, he comes back and practices at Arizona State and kind of mentors some of these kids that are coming up through the program that are younger than him. And, I hope that one day they bring him back as a coach one day, maybe. That'd be awesome if he ever decides to go that route, because he truly embodies what it means to be a Sun Devil. And I think he understands it more than a lot of people who have gone through this program in recent years.
Definitely.
He has that personality too that is just infectious.
Yeah, and he's a consummate Sun Devil, and definitely everything I think you look for in a player. Committed, enthusiastic, just not a bad word to say about anybody. Just goes out there, goes about his business, and does his job. I think that's definitely the kind of player that you want. And then you always got to give a shout out to the special teams, John. And
I can't help it. They're a third of the game.
Definitely
finally
on this one.
In the last show, I'm going to sneak him in here because I thought our freshman punter was outstanding. Not only this game but all season. But just to give you an idea, folks, 5 punts, 242, average 48.4, 62-yard longest, 1 inside the 20, no out of bounds, 2 for over 50. I thought we were going to have a real drop off after we lost. Our punter to Turk to Oklahoma, but man, this kid certainly stepped up. So I was happy to be able to give him a helmet sticker here and be one of my players of the game.
And Britt, your player of the game.
Eric Gentry. I thought he did a great job of stepping up, especially for the defense, man. I heard about how banged up they were going to be going into this game. No Darian Butler because of a concussion. No Merlin Robertson because of undisclosed reasons. It made me a little bit nervous. So I thought Eric Gentry did a great job of stepping up. He had 6 tackles, a sack, a tackle for loss. Just a huge game for him overall, and I believe he got a freshman nomination for some sort of award in the game.
No, he was named on the freshman All-American team.
Yeah.
And by the way, and just so you know, Merlin had a class 2 hamstring, which is a pretty good hamstring injury.
Yeah.
I found all this out at Saguaro's practice on Thanksgiving Day when Soli's mom came up to me and said, both my boards are starting. I said, "You're kidding! This is awesome! What an opportunity!"
Connor had a nice game too, and then when Gentry, I mean, the guy didn't even look like a linebacker. He looks like a receiver. He's about 6'6", 200. And I'd like to see him bulk up a little bit. But he's had himself a nice year in that crowded, experienced linebacking core. He's found ways to get on the field and be productive, especially that UCLA game.
Yeah, that's the play of the game.
Yeah, and then seeing, when Gentry went down, Will Schaefer came in, so it was an all Saguaro linebacking core for a little bit there.
Yeah, right.
That's crazy. So definitely great to see these guys ball out. Those are Valley Athletic Booster Club players of the game. Support local athletics. Check out Valley Athletic Booster Club.
Work the Devils. Yeah, we're endowing a couple of scholarships, trying to grow that.
Very nice.
December 12th.
And so that brings us to the postseason. Let's go bowling. Yes. What we have, as you can see here, have some projections on where the Sun Devils will end up, come bowl time. It's looking like the Las Vegas Bowl, though the Holiday Bowl is still in the conversation.
Find out Tuesday.
Brett, I'll start with you. Which would you like to see, and which do you think would be great for both the program and the fans?
Vegas for both of those questions. I think Vegas is better for the program in terms of I think you have a better opportunity for a better outcome. I think the Holiday Bowl being at Petco Park, it's just a weird layout. Allegiant Stadium is actually a football arena, a football setting. Also, it's close. ASU loves Las Vegas like fat kids love cake. I mean, it's the perfect setting. Everyone was going to want to go to Vegas. I just think that's going to be the bowl that and that ASU ends up going to, and I think it's going to end up fitting perfectly.
I'm inclined to agree. We'll see. As far as exposure goes, obviously that may depend on who they play, but they should still get a lot of eyes on this game. Big John, how about you?
Well, you go to San Diego to go to the beach. You go to Vegas to have a good time, and so to me, for the fans, it's Vegas. For the program, to me, it's this level of bowl is really a glorified scrimmage to me, and two, but what the real thing of bowl is 15 more practices to develop players,
right? And
we, with the number of guys that are leaving and not maybe playing in this bowl, it's going to be very important that we get these 15 practices. It should, put it this way, it's why you're getting this position this time of year is to get those extra 15 practices. You don't get it. You don't get an extra 15 practice. You can't make that. You can't find 15 throughout the year. This is a bonus, and this is where you get your this is where your team goes from here to here. If you can put it together.
Players have quit on coaches because they don't want 15 more practices with them. So.
And you know what? Don't let the door hit you on the way out, man. It'd be my attitude. You knew this when you signed up. It was in the fine print of your scholarship. Show up, Yeah. Do you think for one, I just knowing Chase, he's going to be out there showcasing himself, and he's probably going to go to a Senior Bowl too.
Well, he's going. He accepted an invite to the Shrine game today.
Good, great. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
So, but we'll see Rashad White in the Senior Bowl. So, definitely a lot of opportunities for these kids before the draft actually comes to get their names out there and get exposure. And, this bowl game, especially if they play, like a Wisconsin or a Penn State, a big time, a nice Big Ten team that a lot of people will follow nationally, I think will be a good opportunity for ASU.
2 years ago when we were in the Sun Bowl, you have to give a good example why this is bowls are important. We saw Cooper in the Sun Bowl start and dominate, and because we were playing a really Anthony Cooper playing, the guy who was playing across was a freshman. He took advantage of the guy, and I think he really elevated his position on the team to be a number two. There's a lot of, in terms of the pecking order for next year, bowls can help that a lot. You're going to see guys who really didn't get a lot of reps. You're going to get a lot of reps in this game.
Especially if guys opt out. You're going to have, every program goes through this. Guys opt out, guys transfer, guys do all these things. I mean, we've already said that, Rashad White has already said that he's not going to play in the bowl game. It looks like Chip Trainum is going to transfer, although, that he could come back. But and so that this is opportunity for Daniel Nagata to show what he can do as a starter basis. So, great, it's an opportunity. We'll certainly see how that all breaks out. But looking at putting a bow on the 2021 season, I think I mentioned it, certainly not the way I think a lot of fans saw this going, especially with as wide open as the Pac-12 was coming into the season. You certainly would have liked to seen ASU have a slightly better showing in a couple of their games, but still not a bad season by any stretch. But I think certainly not one that did not live up to our expectations.
There were 3 games that were eminently winnable in that and that we just kind of shot ourselves in the foot with turnovers and penalties and lack of discipline. There was one where we didn't belong in there physically at all with Utah. I felt, we got beat up.
But
and
so we're still good enough to lead them 21-7 at the half.
True. Yeah. And then something happened after that. It was not pretty.
We had a two-week hangover.
I felt like the not winnable game on ASU's schedule the whole year was that Oregon State game, to be 100% honest with you, because I think it's a mental trick right out the gate when you see that as your second to last game on the road, and
the history.
Well, yeah,
you thought it was a trap game.
Back-to-back games in the Northwest too is never in November is never a good idea.
Well, and practically nobody in the pack has ever been done that time of year.
They never won both games,
and never won both, right? So you saw that as a trap game, right, Britt?
I did, and I felt like that was the one game too this year that the game against BYU, the game against Wazoo, the game against Utah, they all were winnable games, and ASU shot themselves in the foot. That game against Oregon State did not look winnable in any way, shape, or form. And I feel like that was the one that was the most frustrating to me, or probably maybe the least frustrating, I should say, because, I mean, they just were outplayed. Like, they just did not look good.
Oregon State still had something to play for, whereas ASU was out of the South.
Yeah, after
Utah clinched by the time by kickoff.
Yeah, and after Wazoo, right? But I thought that you're right. At the beginning of the season, it looked like trap game. We should be able, but physically we should be able to win this. But as the season was going on, and you're watching who Oregon State was beating and how well their offense was firing, I kept saying to Ryan, "This is going to be trouble. This is going to be trouble." Not because it's a trap. It shifted from a trap game to, oh my God, they've really made great progress up there.
Yeah.
They actually look like a legitimate opponent, right?
And then we have one more game, folks. We have USC traveling up to Cal for a makeup game.
COVID makeup.
COVID makeup.
December 4th, the day after the Pac-12 championships.
It's the weirdest
for neither of them to go to a bowl.
It's the most meaningless game. I'm sure the TV guys are going, why are we even covering this? Come on,
Yeah, hey, if they could get Lincoln Riley to coach, I'm sure there'd be a lot more interest.
Yeah. Well, he said he's going to leave him alone. He
has to.
Yeah.
I don't think he can take possession of the team until the season actually ends.
Right.
So,
right.
But it is what it is. We all knew that weeks out this game wasn't probably going to mean anything anyway, because neither team played really well at all throughout the course of the season. Right. So and part of that wasn't Cal's fault. I mean, they were just snake bitten by COVID week in and week out. I mean, they're the only. They have the distinction of being the only loss, like being the only win by U of A this year, and that was just because half their team and half their coaching staff had COVID.
They couldn't barely fielded a team.
Yeah, right. I know.
They had their fourth string quarterback starting.
Wow, crazy.
Somebody sent me a picture right as the game was ending, and there's like the band was on the field and a couple of fans, and there was hardly anybody there, right?
Yeah.
And I just said they take their social distancing very seriously at that school, don't they?
Well, and they released, and for what ASU did this year, I mean, they still were, I think they were third or fourth in the Pac-12 in attendance.
Right.
Colorado was second. which is
Yeah.
unusual. I mean, they're they have loyal fans, but
It's a drunk fest,
U of A
man.
was 11th.
Have you been to Colorado for a game?
We're in Boulder. I haven't
Yeah.
had the pleasure. We'll definitely like
Dude, you got to come with me one of these years. It is a drunken brawl. It's
I have
absolute.
I've heard it as an experience.
It's a drunken draw. Let me tell you.
So that'll kind of put a bow on the 2021 season. Would have liked to see ASU. I'm sorry. We'll put a bow here. Just kind of some of the things that we kind of noticed are some of our takeaways, our postseason awards, if you will, for this team. And I'll start. Kind of the biggest win this year I got to say, was UCLA. That was a game against a legitimate.
I agree.
At the time, it looked like that was going to be kind of the determining factor for, along with what Utah did for supremacy in the Pac-12 South. And ASU came out, on the road and really played well. I mean, this really looked like the team we expected them to be all year.
Early strike, that got up right away. We always talked about getting out to a fast start. We got out to a great fast start, and they were the only. I think, as it turns out, they were the only team this year we played that was ranked. So that, and on the road, that's impressive.
Yeah, true.
So I would agree with you guys.
Yeah, for that, and then,
I'm the same.
Yeah, I got to point to as far as losses go, I got to point to the Utah game, because that was really a game I felt like ASU had in hand at halftime, and then they blinked. I mean, I don't know if they just took their foot off the gas, but it seemed like after that the offense really couldn't get anything going, and the defense wasn't much better. It just seemed like they just felt like they were up 14 points, felt like they had it in hand, and for whatever reason they just stopped playing. Felt almost like
I told you that they went from a power blocking scheme to a counter scheme, which we did not. I don't know why we couldn't figure out what they were doing, but
the adjustments, right? Yeah, we talked about
their
that.
adjustments were great. We did not have an adjustment to their blocking scheme, and they ran all over us, right?
Yeah.
And my point, Britt, has been all season that the most senior guys and the most looked up to leaders were on the defensive side of the ball. And as went the defense, so goes the offense for us. And because the defense had a collapse, I think the offense kind of said, holy crap, I look at our defense getting shelled, and they reacted to that. It's kind of like, it's the same thing though, when defense has a great 3 and out and shells you, the offense comes back and all charged up. I think the same thing was in other, right? Yeah, I think the same thing was in play in that Utah game, as far as the dramatic switch. All of these younger guys on the offense saw the defense getting shelled and getting physically beat up, and they were like, holy crap, but that was my theory.
So I agree with that in terms of, because I have a hard time picking one biggest loss. I think there were two. The Utah one, I think, was a huge loss in terms of, I think that's where the confidence switched, and we saw a total regression in terms of the offensive confidence on the field. I think the other biggest loss of the year was the loss to BYU, because that game was 100% winnable, and that was the game where all of the red flags were really brought to fruition and highlighted, and they still were not able to make the adjustments throughout the year that they needed to, despite having them all on display in week 3.
Talk about penalties,
So,
and discipline and penalties, and the lack of discipline and stuff. Yeah. And Ryan and I talked about this last week. It starts from the top, and Herm, because he's one of these coaches, has tended
lack discipline.
Yeah. So what he has done, it appears, is that he has delegated it off to the assistants. And I had a long talk with Danny Cush about this. I said, well, your dad was known as a disciplinarian. He goes, that was not the success. The reason for the success was that all of the assistants were charged with being the disciplinarians, and the players always feared somebody. They knew that they were going to pay the price if they were screwing up. I'm not so sure we have that. You know what I mean? It looked like there was a game. After the Wazoo game, we obviously stopped dropping the ball. We pulled Chip Trainham and sort of told people, if you're going to put the ball on the ground, you're not playing. Right, but you got to do it throughout practice all week too.
Yeah,
this is true.
So
Yeah, and then our I think offensive MVP probably
No
goes
brainer.
without saying. I think it's Rashad White.
No brainer.
Yeah, I think we're all
Yep.
are we all kind of in agreement on that. Just a tremendous year. I mean, the guy was both the
100%.
leading rusher and leading receiver for the season. So,
Guy's got great hands, and I
oh
think,
yeah, he's
I
a
think, I think
great receiver out of the backfield.
to me, he's an NFL candidate for getting a nice contract based on the fact that it's his hand. It's not just his running; it's his hands and his durability that they're going to love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I spoke too soon after this game. After this past week, Ricky Pearson actually has one more reception than Rashad White, but Rashad had more, and more receiving yards. So Ricky Pearson technically was the leading receiver, but still, I got to give the MVP to Rashad White because so much of the offense went through him.
Agree.
Yeah, and the team's offensive fortunes tend to rise and fall with him. So,
And we talked about this in the pre-show. We're losing Trey and a trip to once he's got himself in the portal, and that is confirmed. There was some scuttlebutt late tonight that maybe he was back on the team. I confirmed with his mom he's not sticking around, guys. Sorry. But because and I know what it was a frustrating year for him.
yeah.
And he had some of it is a bad break with that a high ankle sprain. Some of it was putting the ball on the ground and not getting enough touches. But yeah, listen, he was.
Some of it was Rashad White just being so good you couldn't take him off the field.
You had to keep feeding them the ball.
Yeah, I know.
Feed the beast.
Yeah. There's no reason for Ngata to leave at this point.
Him and I mean, yeah, you got the incoming kid in Tevin White.
Virginia,
next year now with Trainham leaving, you probably add somebody through the portal or something. But yeah, there's no reason for Ngata to leave. He'll get every opportunity to carry the load next year. So
you know who's in the portal? Running back Day from Chandler.
Oh yeah. Oh, from Hawaii.
Ooh, the one who went to Hawaii.
He went to Hawaii, and remember who his coach was?
Aguano.
Yep, Sean Aguano, and I was upset that he did not get offered by Arizona State. He was
no Power
so
5
dominant.
teams offering him.
Yeah, but Brett, he's a north-south runner. He doesn't have great lateral ability, and he has no burst.
He doesn't have burst. He doesn't have breakaway speed. You see, remember when Ringo caught him in the Open Championship?
Absolutely.
That tells you everything you need to know right there.
Well,
I mean, I like the kid. I think he's got a lot of ability. I think he could play at a Power 5 school, but he does. Don't expect a lot of don't expect like a lot of breakaway runs from him.
Demarius, yeah, he's kind of like
Richard.
Richards. Great leg drive. Yeah. He may get a shot here.
Yeah, maybe. And then defensive MVP. I think there's a lot of guys you could point to. This year, I definitely think that several players made cases, but I'm going to go with Darian Butler.
Yeah,
like he kind of set the tone at times. He had some big games this year. He was that stopper on defense. Always seemed to come up with the big play when the team needed it. So that to me he's my defensive MVP.
I agree. I mean, somebody asked Brandon McGee, who do you watch on defense? He goes, number 20. That's it. That's the only guy I watch.
And I'm glad he didn't say Merlin because Merlin wears his number.
Yeah. No, I agree only because and his hits were timely. They were NFL-like in as far as the way he blew people up.
Oh yeah.
He absolutely runs really great lines to the ball. Yeah, I like everything about D Black's game. Saw him after the game and got a big hello and a big hi. Howdy.
Nice. How about you, Britt?
I got to go with Butler too. I just think he's so dominant this past year. I think he really set the tone. I think he was the leader that people didn't necessarily expect to see out of the gate. I mean, they knew he was going to be good, but I think a lot more eyes were on Merlin Robertson this year, and Darian Butler kind of stole the show.
I think that to a large extent, the defense was designed for Butler. to make most of the tackles, quite
Well,
frankly.
and I think AP kind of saw the writing on the wall as far as how good he was and how good he could be. So yeah, you got to give him every opportunity to make plays. So,
Well, they tended to drop solely more into coverage, right? Whereas
and that's a strength
Butler
of
had
his
the
game too. That's a strength of his game. Yeah.
Correct. Whereas Butler, they gave the green light to, walk him up or send him off
the
of an
gap.
edge.
Yeah, yeah.
Shoot the gap. He was a shoot the gap kind of guy. So that the defense, like I say, was sort of designed for him to shine, and that's fine. He deserved it.
And while there wasn't a ton of opportunities for some newcomers this year, I do feel like there were a few that made an impact at times, and were, you could still say, hey, that's a guy to watch out for going forward. And I'm gonna go with Eric Gentry. The fact that he was named a freshman All-American. There were so many injuries in the linebacking core this year. You needed guys to step up, and I felt like he definitely came in and did that. Even though he still doesn't look like a linebacker. He looks like he's playing out of position out there.
But he's so quick.
Oh yeah, I know.
He's so
That's
fast
the
to the
crazy
ball.
thing. I know. That's so
I call him he's cat-like.
Yeah, and I mentioned him. The plays, some of the plays that he made against UCLA, comes out, has a big game against U of A. Definitely looking for big things out of him next year with the whole linebacking core more than likely leaving.
Yeah, for me it was LB Bunkley Shelton. And it's only because I think he showed us everything we've been hearing about in terms of the speed, his craftiness once he gets the ball, his burst. I really do, and I like the burst. I just think he's a big part going forward of what we're all about.
I thought for sure you'd say Zaplecki.
Hey, he may become very close to leading in scoring next year. With what we have, but no, I'm going with LV, and the fact that it's now been confirmed that he's coming back, it really warms my heart. I was worried there for a minute.
Brett, how about you?
I got to go with Eric Gentry too. I mentioned him earlier as one of my standout players of the game, and I think he really just had a great year in terms of like you guys were saying, making a name for himself and stepping up big time when there were a lot of injuries in that linebacking core. And, to be able to stand out and make a name for yourself like that. And especially when there's so many other people who are in front of you that
as a freshman.
Yeah. Mentally thinking about that, will I have to step up? Will I get a chance to play? And then when your number's called, you are ready, and you're ready in a big way. I thought it was huge. So
he was filling some big shoes too. That's the thing.
Yeah, very true.
In other words, that defense, the heart and soul of that defense was the linebacking core, and the fact that there was not much drop off when he came in. That was in terms of productivity.
And we kind of knew that before the season started. We knew that the linebacking core was the ones going to have to make plays in order to set the tone for the rest of the defense. And you certainly didn't want. And when they were all together and they were healthy, that was the defense definitely fed off of them and it was playing very, very well. And I think the stats will definitely reflect that. They didn't always necessarily pass the eye test, especially in certain games. They didn't always play with the most, motivation, but still, I think a solid year, for that side of the ball altogether.
I have to mention one other newcomer. I thought Elijah Badger. I thought really stood out, caught my eye.
He had a good game too. Or a couple good games, I should say.
A season, yeah.
Yeah,
he needs more reps.
He kind of came in late, so
he was injured.
Didn't really get eligible until after the season had started.
Right.
So you really didn't know what to expect from him. Yeah, that's a very good point. And
I thought
definitely looking for big thing for more out of him this year.
That's
when he got
my
the ball
point.
As just on the trick plays and what have you. Yeah, he was able to make some good things happen.
The gadget stuff is great, but you need he's going to be an every down. He needs to be an every down kind of wide receiver going forward.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely. So I was remiss. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's a good point. So when we look back on this season, 5-10 years from now, what are going to be our takeaways? What are going to be the things that
ASU screwed itself. ASU screwed itself out of going potentially 11-1 this season by playing very stupid.
You really
So-
think,
and
you really think
undisciplined.
that's what we'll look at 5-10 years down the road?
We'll
That's
be-
what I will remember, because I will look at this and I will see them as 8-4, and I will say, this could have been 11-1 in a regular season had they not had over 100 penalties in the regular season.
Let me ask it. So you break down those, we were 138 out of 139, I guess, right? In terms of penalties.
Is that where we finished?
We did, yeah, next
Okay.
to last. And guess who was last? U of A.
Naturally.
But the O-line, Mike Kavanaugh's group, while they kept Jaden relatively clean this year, there was so many misfires, so many mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah, that,
And
well, yeah. When
I feel like that's
when
where
the,
a bunch of the problems come
Yeah,
from.
Yeah, I do.
when those false start penalties start coming in bunches like that,
Yeah,
that's a big.
After timeouts,
Yeah.
I can understand BYU where you can practice with speakers on. You can't practice with 75,000 people going off the way they were.
Well, you should still be able to practice a silent count. I mean,
You should, exactly. A silent count or visual, something. There's a number of other ways to get the ball off. And
how hard is it for the guard to tap the center's leg to let him know when to snap the ball?
right. Yeah, it's not. I just want to say, you know what? Ray Anderson has to ask Herm to make, what is your plan to fix all this? And usually there's sacrificial lambs when it comes to assistant coaches, position coaches. I'm just wondering if Kavanaugh's not one of those guys. I like the man a great deal. I've got to know him. He's a great old wily veteran. But man,
I think you got to look at where the penalties stem from, though, and they all stem from mostly his group and their lack of discipline, and that is something that's really concerning.
some of it was not even lining up correctly at times. There was some bad stuff.
Yeah, and just I mean, pre-snap stuff.
So-
a lot of. I mean, I think they broke it down on the Pac-12 network during the game. Just like it was like 40% of their penalties were during the course of the season were pre-snap stuff. I mean, that's all coaching. That's all preparation. That can't happen. So, certainly hope they get that squared away next year. I don't. Yeah, I definitely don't think we can see another year when it comes to penalties like we saw this past year. That was a big thing that held them back from more wins this year. So,
so your big take, I agree. It was, we had the easiest path
it
to
was
11.
a season of what could have been. I think that's going to be, and they had seasons like this under Cutter too, where you looked at them and said, hey, on paper, we have more talent than 90% of the conference. We should be able to make a run at a championship, and then ultimately weren't able to do it, and that's just not acceptable. And that's
for me, my biggest takeaway, while everybody wants to be down on Jaden. Jaden actually threw for a high percentage of completion. He could not see the field well. He
led the Pac-12 in completion percentage.
In fact, I'm gonna put those numbers up in a second. I think maybe we already did. He led the Pac-12 and in rush and in with his legs too. But the problem was, so my point is, you may look at this as a regression. You can't make this judgment about this being, Jaden's low point until after next year. He's going to get another shot to get this thing right. And if he does, I think you'll look at this as the biggest turnaround in a quarterback's career at ASU. And he has that opportunity.
That feeds into our 2022 super early look, our preview, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. But I just wanted to go through some of the players that are leaving. A lot of guys, a lot of ones on D line: DJ Davidson, Shannon Foreman, and the team's best pass rusher Tyler Johnson. We talked about the linebacking core leaving. Those 5 super seniors in the secondary, they never, they were racked by injuries. They never played a whole game together, not one. So that to me is, very disappointing. It felt like they could, if they had played all together, it could have been a lot better. O-line, Deach and Haddis, 2 starters that you're going to need to replace. And then as you get into the offensive skill position players, Curtis Hodges, had a nice year at times. He was very much an impact player. I was pleasantly surprised by Brian Thompson. I felt like, you know, when he got opportunities, and they were able to get the ball to him. He made some plays. I would like to see a little more from him, but still like what I saw. And then Rashad White, you know, he's going to be missed. I mean, he was such a big part of this offense, but you know, it's his time to go. And you know, Chip Trainum leaving is very disappointing as well. I felt like he could have come in, next year and really been an impact player. You know, wish the best for him going forward. So, what do you guys think? Where's what do you look at as far as what this team needs to do to have a better year next year?
Hit that transfer portal hard, dog.
It's very clear that that's the strategy, and I think if I'm Herm, I have a long talk with Bobby Hurley, and that is no, I'm serious, Bobby,
because that's worked out so well.
That's my point. It's starting to look like a crapshoot unless you really have some people vouching for them and have seen them, had their eyes on them, or had their eyeballs on these guys, have a relationship. You're not just renting these guys for a year. You want to find some people who are going to bleed maroon and gold and leave the program better than they found it.
Yeah,
I'm just
not
hoping.
Just looking for mercenaries,
I mean, you can.
We're just looking
right,
for exposure or paycheck.
You can go to analytics and study, that power, that website has all the great stats on every player and study all that. You got to go find it. You need somebody to say, this kid's got heart. This kid's going to be a competitor. That's what I want. And it's obvious you're going to have to hit the portal hard, but God dang it, go do your homework. Let's make sure we get guys who are going to be contributors.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's my biggest.
And we'll see in the coming months what this team will look like, as they go into the transfer portal. But we have our 2022 look ahead presented by xllending.com. For all your mortgage needs, check out xllending.com. And it was just announced this week, quarterback Jayden Daniels will return. Led the Pac-12 in completion percentage and rushing yards by a quarterback. Would have liked to see those interception numbers go down, those touchdown numbers go up, though. Just didn't really pass the eye test. Yeah, he had some nice games early on, but just as the season went on, as teams kind of adjusted to him, just didn't really like what I saw, basically.
Well, it's easy to look at the interceptions as being but as we talked about, and I think Britt, you probably would, you may have heard me say this, that Jayden's footwork was a mess this year.
Yes.
The way, and it's when you're throwing the ball high one play, skipping the ball off another, throwing it behind receivers, it's always your feet. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So and you're going to hear me. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but if Herm is being asked to come up with a plan to fix this, he's got to go find a quarterback whisperer, a Berkovici-like guy who can really work on those fine details of your feet. I don't know,
a true quarterback coach, I think.
And there are guys in this valley who are eminently qualified. You got Rudy Carpenter living right here. He makes a living at it. He's also got. And I talked to Rudy a couple times the last couple of weeks, and I didn't talk specifically about this, but he, the guy he's a Sun Devil through and through. He marches to a different drummer, and I love the kid, but he knows what he's doing, and he could help out. We
talked about Taylor Kelly before the show. He's coaching up in California for high school.
Well, you get him. You get Taylor Kelly, and he's going to be a pipeline to modern day. For recruiting. That's a 2-for-1 right there. But I think what Jayden
I think he does need a little bit more one-on-one coaching. Definitely
yes.
quarterback guru, quarterback specialist would be great to add to the coaching staff. Absolutely.
So who to watch?
Yeah,
I think we kind of named them. Some of the bright guys coming up.
We touched on some of them. And I'd like to see some guys come back. Maybe some guys who got injured or maybe didn't get to get as many opportunities as they would have liked. Especially on the front seven, because that's where you're losing a lot. You're losing a lot of guys across the board on the defense. But I think on the front seven, you still have some guys on the 2 deep that are here, and that you saw at different points over the past couple seasons who I think could come in and still make an impact. Especially I'd like to see, John, you touched on Anthony Cooper. He played some big reps this year. I'd like to see him raise his game to the next level.
Yep.
Next year, he's got all the physical skills to do it. And now I'd like to see him go from, a rotational player to an impact player.
I want to see Johnny Wilson really have a healthy, productive year. I mean, he has all the tools. We never saw him hit the field for any more than
if he can, if he can,
and I mean, he had some big plays
on the same page with Jaden. Yeah, it's gonna be he's gonna be very dangerous.
Yeah, well,
Johnny Wilson had some big plays when we saw him last year. I want to say it was in the game, against Oregon State. I think he had an absolutely massive catch that I could not believe he hung on to. So
I think that was last year. He had a big catch.
Yeah,
he got complete, and then he found that he did on review. He caught it and somehow hung on to it.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another guy I'd certainly like to see. I mean, there's going to be opportunities in the receiving core for guys to make plays. I mean, Ricky Pearson will be back, but I think there's still, we mentioned LV Bunkley Shelton. There'll still be opportunities for guys to come in and if they can get on the same, if Jaden can just get on the same page with some of these guys, they got an opportunity to be successful. But just kind of sticking with the defense, I think there are plenty of guys who could come in and make plays. And we talked about the young linebackers on this team. Connor Foley, we mentioned Eric Gentry, Will Schaefer's another kid. McCullough is another guy. He didn't get a lot of opportunities this year because there was kind of a log jam at the position.
Right.
Now there's opportunities next year for guys.
Jordan Banks.
Yeah. So these guys are good kids, and along the D line you got Joe Moore, Stanley Lambert. I know Garen Stansberry. Trevez Moore's trying to get another year of eligibility.
Why wouldn't he? He was injured. He got injured really
early. Yeah, it's true.
Was it before the first game or was it after the first game?
No, he played in games this year. And another guy I'm looking forward to seeing, is a couple more guys I'm looking forward to seeing, I think, who could really anchor the middle, as J Pacifier. He played some big snaps this year, and the former walk-on BJ Green.
Yeah, that Green. I thought Green really caught my eye.
Yeah,
he stepped up and did more than I expected him to do this year.
Yeah, you never. I mean, hey, DJ Davidson was a former walk-on, so you never really know about these walk-ons, what kind of impact they're going to have. So when they get their opportunities, they appreciate it more than the Scully kids. So I'm definitely looking for some nice things from him. And then in the secondary, I mean, it's wide open. I mean, with everybody that's leaving, I mean, you got the Markham brothers. I think, you can kind of pencil them in probably as starters. If he sticks around, they moved DJ Taylor back to defense this year. He could certainly come in and be a player on the back end. And then you got the corners, Tommy Hill, Mason Williams, T. Lee, Jordan Clark. Those are all guys who have ample opportunity to start next year.
I'm going to throw one more in there that I thought he had a phenomenal, an unheralded year, because he doesn't show up on the stats when you're a fullback, but his blocking, Case Hatch's blocking was so freaking good.
Having him back next year is going to be huge because you can line him up all over the field. And
yes,
you're absolutely right about his blocking. Definitely.
My goodness, I mean, you got Rashad White getting. I mean, he wouldn't have gotten bubkiss for yards without Hatch. I mean, whatever Hatch was going, I mean, it was a dead tell, right? Every time Hatch would go where we'd go, he's going. The question is, what hip was he going to go off of?
Right? Yeah, and then the defense saw it, and they still couldn't stop it.
They still couldn't stop it because he wasn't just blowing up O-linemen; he was blowing up linebackers. Man, it was just fun. He was phenomenal. So I think he's a big contributor. I like to see him get the ball a couple more times too.
And then right now, as far as commits go, not a lot to to be too excited about. I mean, they have a few guys who could
Fine.
come in and make now that, especially now that Trainham is transferring, that running back position becomes more open, and Tevin White out of Virginia looks like he's got he really flashed on film. Looks like he could come in and play right away.
6'1", 200. Yeah, he kind of falls into the big back side at 6'1", 200.
Yeah,
you put 25 pounds on that kid by the time he's out of here. He's a big back.
But he's got speed though. He has some speed for a big back.
He does. Yeah, that's why he's a 4-star.
And then you got Tristan Dunn out of Washington State as a kid who could who in that wide open secondary he could come in and play. You got two tight ends leaving. So Jacob Newell from Oregon, he's a big kid, 6'5", 220. He could certainly fight for some reps. Robbie Harrison, the D lineman out of South Carolina. There's opportunity on the 2 deep for the D line right now. And then as inconsistent as the kicking game was this year, their last commit is a kicker, Carter Brown out of Texas. You're looking for some stability out of the position. Maybe it's a freshman who brings that in. You never know.
I don't think
there's going to be
going
opportunities for kids. And I think that's why guys in the transfer portal are going to say, hey, I can come in and make an impact on this team.
There's your top target after these 5 commits. There's a kid out of St. Louis, Kevin Coleman, who's a 5-star wide receiver who is ready to play. I've seen his film. He's very, very, very good.
Be nice to get him. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then there's a safety out of Iowa, Xavier Nwankpa.
You mentioned him.
He's played out here. He likes this area, has relatives from this area. He's plays in all the 7-on-7 tournaments out here.
Right.
His dad is always an Olympic track star from Iowa who wants him to go there. It's a question of does the family out here have more pull, or does he, Iowa's a good program, but a lot of these kids want to get out of a place like that and come play with what they perceive as.
Don't blame them. Don't blame them. I mean, especially when you look at the commits that they have now, and even the commits that they had that decommitted, they're all over the map. So ASU's not just going to the usual pipeline states like California and Texas to find these kids. They're going everywhere.
They're branching out.
Yeah,
there's an edge rusher out of Bishop Gorman that we're after named Cyrus Moss. I got to see one of his games this year. He's a beast. It's 6'6", 220
from Vegas.
Yeah, he's from Bishop Gorman. He looks
just for people who don't know where Bishop Gorman is.
Yeah.
Well, if we go to the Vegas Bowl, that would be a huge get too.
If we go to the Vegas Bowl, I'll take you there.
Okay. So if they, even though people have been complaining about the team's recruiting, they've been hamstrung by this NCAA investigation. Now that the season's over, it seems like they're getting back on the road. They're getting in touch with these prospects. So we'll see if hopefully this team can't finish strong. It looks like we lost Britt, unfortunately. Hey John, I mentioned the NCAA investigation. You got some inside info on that.
I do.
The suspended coaches, Prentice Gill, Chris Hawkins, Adam Brenneman, the team's best recruiters. Do you think that they are reinstated and come back to the staff?
I have it on really good authority, really good. And I can't expose a lot of the details, but this is going to be brought to an end very quickly, folks. We basically have been self-sanctioning since day one, which the NCAA likes. We have self-sanctioned to the point where it has hurt our 2022 and 23 classes. We have pulled key guys off the road. We have pulled the coordinator off the road, kept them off of social media. But the basic tenet of this argument is we have been self-sanctioning. We will offer further self-sanctioning in terms of reduction in road visits and kids coming in for official visits, but that's going to be the end of it. There's no coach is going to be let go. They broke no NCAA rules. The only thing that has gone on that they've been accused of basically is breaking local health mandates, and that mandates are not. Oh, she closed her head. 10 problems. Okay. Mandates are not law. Okay. The NC2A really has no jurisdiction when it comes to anything like that. And this was all brought on by a disgruntled employee who had an axe to grind. And I'm not going to name names, but I've been told who it is. And I understand that in looking at complaints or allegations, when it comes from somebody who has an axe to grind and a disgruntled employee, it's looked upon a whole lot differently than somebody who's a neutral third party just reporting something. But ostensibly, this is going to be, we're going to offer as fast as possible. There is somebody on the inside. I'm not going to go into the details of how this is taking place, but no coaches are being offered up as sacrificial lambs here. No, nothing more than the self-sanctioning we've already done. So I'll leave it at that. Just know that we basically have wiped out our own 2022 and hurt our 2023 classes, and nothing that was alleged, nothing that took place appreciably changed or improved our lot in life and helped us as a team. So all that stuff goes into this. There's so I can't get into any more detail than that because I'll expose my contacts.
Yeah,
and
don't. Yeah,
and
I don't want you to do that. So.
And I don't want to. Yeah, but I've been told this is the strategy from on high, from way on high, and that this is a coordinated. And not to worry, folks. Not to worry. So expect this to be because you can't let this go on for years like U of A basketball. I'm sorry.
Yes. And I think that's not a fair comparison. I think that things will get resolved here before too long. So just kind of stay tuned. Things will get better. They're getting back out on the recruiting trail. They're starting to offer more kids. They'll bring some kids in through the transfer portal. They'll have a couple in this weekend, actually. So
by the way, I need to admit her. I'm the admitter. Okay, she's coming in now. There we go. Sorry.
Hey, there she is. Welcome back, Britt. Welcome
Hi,
back.
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. So, John, just to catch up, John was just catching us up on the recruiting, what he knows as far as the coaches sticking around. And, they have a lot of, they're going to have some kids in from the transfer portal this weekend that they've already offered. I know Micah Pittman, the wide receiver from Oregon, and a tight end from Mizzou. His name escapes me at the moment, but so they're refilling. They're working on refilling the ranks. They're not just sitting back pat and waiting on the NCAA. They're getting back out on the road and trying to fill out this team for next year to make it competitive.
I mean, Herm was getting back at it as soon as possible. I know that he made it a point to say that Monday morning after the Territorial Cup game, I think he was going to take Sunday to spend some time with his family finally, and then Monday morning he was going to be back in at 8 a.m. looking at transfer film of kids in the transfer portal. So, I don't think fans need to be very concerned. I almost think the transfer portal is a little bit better in this instance because it's not necessarily like when Todd Graham was just hitting the JUCO recruiting route hard, and it kind of left a lot of holes in terms of those kids only had a set number of years. Kids coming out of the transfer portal can have any number of years remaining. I think it helps you plug and fill a lot of those holes. And
it's not just grad transfers anymore.
Yeah. And a lot of them, I think that 1 year that they might have spent sitting on the bench for whatever reason it was, and maybe there's going to be a coaching change at their program. That 1 year allows them to grow and mature a lot physically as men. And then maybe it wasn't the right fit for them. They're not really a great fit with the new coaching staff coming in, and they're hitting the portal. And ASU is a place that they were considering before, and now it is where they want to call home. So, you never know. You can't rule things out.
Yeah, you're right. It's any number of reasons. And, hopefully, they a change of scenery a lot of times can do you good. And hopefully that change of scenery is Tempe, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful there. No reason why it shouldn't have a good impact.
Don't forget local kids who left, like Hattis, went to Stanford.
Oh yeah.
Can't get into the grad program, right? It's very hard. Comes home, has a great 2 years. There's all kinds of opportunities like that. Is my point. Yeah. Maybe Day Hunter. I don't know, but let's go.
Yeah, let's
Let's
see.
go.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, that's why we, there is no off season anymore. I mean, this is
No.
this is a great time for college football. This is where all the big stories have come down. I mean, we've seen all the coaching drama, the coaching carousel that's happened in the last couple weeks. This is and now it turns the spotlight turns to the players, and things have moved very quickly. It all comes down, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to talk about, and it's. I'm really looking. This is one of my favorite times of the year, to be honest.
Yeah,
as much as the season as great as the season is, the off season can have just as much drama.
You enjoy this a lot, I know. I mean, for me, it's my college football is like, you live for it. These 12 or 13 weeks, but it ain't over. You get some more.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got signing day. You got the early signing day now. You got the late signing day. You got the recruiting. The transfers are practically year round. It feels like, and so there's a lot going on, and it's always fun to keep track of. So, and we thought Herm might be on the hot seat, but he announced before the U of A game that he would be back next year. Does Ray Anderson actually? I mean, I know that they're friends, but does Ray actually want Herm back, or is this more of just a money thing? What's can Herm actually right the ship? Can he get this team back to where him and Ray Anderson, when they were first introduced, when Herm was first introduced, promised this program would be?
Well, at 8-4, there's obviously quite a bit of room for improvement, right? You can go to 9-4 and 10 and 9-3 and 10-2. And I do think you're going to have to. When you say he's on the hot seat, I think their expectation is that he's got to win 9 or 10 games next year, and we're not going to Vegas or Holiday or certainly El Paso anymore. So is he on the hot seat? Like any, really, as I said it last week, Herm, while this was his fourth year, he really is his third year, because everybody gets a pass for the coach. We only played 4 games, guys. That's not a season. So this is really his third year. Most coaches who get an opportunity to build a program get 5. And so Herm's coming up on 5. You can look at it as 4 in terms of the COVID year, but I still think he's not on that hot seat. If he has a Bobby Hurley game like last night against Wazoo, sure, you can. I don't. We don't go. Brittany was.
Oh man,
Brittany was
really. You had to bring that up.
I'm sorry. That was one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen in ASU history. But
man, I just got myself some nachos and some kettle corn and just enjoyed the game. And you know what? I was super happy that I didn't have to do a post game.
Yeah,
because I would have been miserable.
Carbs heal everything, don't they?
They do, man.
I still got a half a bag here from last night from you with you and Leslie. Is he on the hot seat? Sure. I think everybody, look at what happened to Clay Helton. Goes out there. I mean, losing to Stanford was horrible for them.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But to be frank, they were a paper tiger. They got exposed at Stanford.
Yep.
And they had a real crappy year too. So, but to me, the window of opportunity for recruiting is going to change in terms of LA. They're not with who they just brought in as their coach. Things, I expect the balance of power to start shifting. It's going to take a couple of years, but we're going to have to step up our game, folks.
Oh yeah,
there's just no doubt about it with what SC is doing over there right now with coaches and facilities, and the money will flow. Trust me, it already is flowing. Look at the contract they gave Lincoln Riley. My God.
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's the direction big time college football is going. If you want to compete, you got to spend, and that's that's the nature of the game now.
And Ray has made it very clear, Herm, if you go win, we're going to pay you a lot more. It's based on performance.
That's how it works. I mean, look at what Mel Tucker's done at Michigan State and the contract he got. I mean, he's been there a couple of years now. He definitely, I think with the way he's raised that program, he's definitely earned that. So they got to stop laying the eggs against Ohio State, but I think he still earned that contract though.
So Britt, let me ask you, you think Herm has to win the South or win the Pac next year to keep it going?
Oh, I think he's got to win the South. I don't think that they're going to say he has to win the entire Pac-12 conference. I think making it to a Pac-12 championship would be sufficient. I mean, because Todd Graham never did beyond that, and it was sufficient for him for multiple years. And I think if you look at it, Herm Edwards, his record has been trending in a different direction than Todd Graham's did. Todd Graham started out hot, out the gate, had those couple like 10-2 seasons, and then started the drop off. Herm has slowly but surely kind of been a mid level. If he's able to step it up from that
his win total every year. So
yeah,
yes,
and he's recruited
they're
better than
always
Herm, than
right
Ray. I mean,
in the
than
middle.
Todd.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think if he's able to continue taking those steps forward and he makes it to 10-2 and even just wins the South, makes it to a Pac-12 championship, I think that that's still a step in the right direction. And at that rate, you can't fire somebody who took you to a Pac-12 championship for the first time since at that rate, it will be almost 10 years because the last time they went was 2013 against Stanford.
He does that. I think he gets an extension.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think extension. But my point is, how much longer does he want to keep coaching at this age?
Very true.
And does it really, the whole thing was predicated on AP remaining sticking around. It's going to be hard because you got to win in order for this to work. I mean, AP, as I said in that, Brittany, you weren't on this podcast, but I said if AP ever wants to be head coach, he's got to coach up that defense in order to even have a shot at being head coach. Especially after what we saw at Utah, I thought, God, he ain't gonna. You're not going to get a lot of looks. You're going to have to go to the pros, and maybe that's where he ultimately goes because the money's good. You don't have to recruit, but I don't know.
Well, hey, we'll see, and we'll definitely keep you informed here on Running with the Devils as we do love to do. We thank you for sticking with us all this season, and we've had a great ride with you. We love coming to you every single week. We'll definitely have another show for you. Our signing day special is coming soon. We'll definitely have a lot more ASU football to talk with you then. So I want to thank our special guest, Brittany Bowyer, for coming on with us. I've been the Runnin.
Thank you for having me.
As always, Big John Caldwell will say good night. Go Devils and Forks Up.